Hey guys, I'm Deepthi Desikan, and in this video we're going to be talking about products that didn't work out for me and disappointing products in my opinion. So before we start this video, as per usual, I must always give a disclaimer because no matter how many times I mention, there are some people who get really upset that I didn't like a certain product. Now, products work differently for different people. It's very subjective. Your skin type is different, your preference is very different compared to what I like, my preference. So I state the reason as to why a product didn't work. Maybe it's sometimes the formulation, maybe it's sometimes the way it looks on my skin, and sometimes it's just a bad product. And by doing this video, actually, I don't get anything in return. There are so many times I have to reject a collab because I didn't really like one product from that range. I didn't like a product from a range, and I've already disclosed it to you guys as well. If I did make this video, maybe a lot of you wouldn't even know the products I like and dislike, and I can just go ahead with those collaborations. But for me, ethics matters, and I just can't sit here and talk about a product saying, oh, look at this, it's so nice, when I don't really like it at all. There's so many times there are certain things that I mention, and there are so many times a collab doesn't even happen because there's this one point of it that I don't really like, and so we can't go ahead with the collaborations. So I don't really get any money out of making these kind of videos, because I get these comments like, are you getting paid to do this video because that's a really good product, and I can't believe you mentioned that, and because of that I'm not going to believe what anything you tell in this video. It's up to you if you believe what I'm telling or not. You can try it for yourself, of course, if you don't believe me, and if you end up liking it as well, it's no problem, because there are so many products that I would have recommended that a lot of you guys didn't like. And same, like when you recommend some products to me, maybe it won't work out for me, and that is why makeup is different, and it's different for different people. Skincare products work differently, but I think in today's video I just pretty much have only makeup products. So anyways, let's get started. The first one I'm going to be talking about is the Essence Prime Studio Hydrating Plus Skin Refreshing Primer. I somehow expected this to be like my Maybelline Fit Me primer, where it's really nice and hydrating and dewy on the skin. This one is a lot more thicker in consistency, and I don't find it to be very hydrating. So it kind of like defeats the purpose of it being a hydrating primer. It also is not very blendable on the skin, so you do have to take your time to blend it. It's not like the worst product I've tried out, but it could have been a lot better. Like, look at that. When you start to blend it, it doesn't really blend easily into your skin. It does take a little bit of time, and once it's done, you can't really see the effect of it that much. And so that's the reason I was a little bit bummed with this product. It's not the worst. I've seen products that have performed a lot differently, but this is my only problem with this particular product. And then let's talk about another one. This one is the NYX Honey Do Me Up Primer. It's a little bit sticky, tacky primer. Yes, it works really well if you want it to be long lasting on your skin, if you want your makeup to adhere onto it, but I feel like my makeup goes on a little bit differently and a little bit patchy every single time I apply it. The golden flakes do adhere onto my skin. It's not very prominent, but my main reason of disliking this primer is because the makeup just goes on a little bit patchy and sticky on top of that, and I don't really like it. It's not something that makes the foundation very blendable, in my opinion. And then the Flower Beauty Supernova Skin Elixir. I know this is a very cult favorite product. A lot of people really like this. It's a good product if you are okay with visible shimmer particles on your skin and a little bit like chunky shimmer particles, like glitter particles on your skin. If you're okay with that, then you can by all means try this out. But I really like the Mass Glowy Primer, the one that comes in that pink bottle. I feel like that one is a little bit more like forgiving on the skin. You can't really see the shimmer particles, and it also makes your foundation very glowy. This one is just a little too shimmery for my liking, and I feel like it does emphasize a little bit of texture on my skin as well. So it's what I have right now on my body, and look at the glow. It is a beautiful product. Like, it is a little bit too shimmery for my liking. Like right now I can see up close a lot of shimmer particles on my skin, and so that is how it looks like on your face as well. So next one I'm going to be talking about, both of these are foundations, and both of them from Smashbox. Very like raved after product. I got this one in the shade 3.18 medium dark with neutral olive undertone, and I don't really like this foundation as much on my skin. I didn't find it to be very hydrating. In fact, I found it to be clinging on to my skin differently. Like, even if my skin is not dry, it was making my skin look a little bit dry. It was also like kind of breaking apart, clinging on to the texture of my skin, settling onto the lines of my face. And as opposed to what I've heard about this foundation, that it's a very hydrating foundation, skin-like foundation, foundation, it didn't give me any of those results. So I think I expected a little too much from this. Maybe I should have tried out the travel variant, because the time I tried this foundation out, the travel size of this foundation was not launched. So I did end up picking this up like in the full size, of course on a discount, but still I think I would have liked to try the travel size of this because of that. And I'm also not a very big fan of the shade match. At the time, most of the shades were sold out, and I saw that a lot of people were shade matching themselves to this shade, like people of my skin tone, and that's the reason I picked it up. And it's just a little bit different in terms of undertone as well. It's not going very well with my skin tone. And then this one is the Smashbox Full Coverage 24-Hour Foundation. Of course, I knew like somewhere that this is not going to work out for me, but I think this is a really nice foundation if you have extremely oily skin and you live in very humid climates. You want your foundation to have coverage but stay in place. I think you would really like this foundation, but it's not for people with dry skin. People who live in like colder climates, dry climate type, do not try this foundation out. You will regret it. It is a little bit thick. It is a little bit harder to blend as well. So yeah, it's very full in coverage, but that's the problem. But it's not a bad product. This one, in my personal opinion, is just for a certain skin type, it would be really good, and for certain skin types, it wouldn't work out at all. But the other foundation I tried out, the 24-Hour Hydra Foundation, I was kind of disappointed, given that they mentioned that it would work out for people with dry skin. That's the problem. And then for concealers, I have a couple of them. This is the K-Beauty concealer. This concealer was marketed as something that is like skin, but gives you good medium coverage, and also is like it stays put. So from all of the videos I watched, that was what a lot of people mentioned. But I feel like this concealer is not the most long wearing concealer. It could give you like light medium coverage, but it also has a very weird tendency of kind of caking up underneath your eye, and in terms of like it gets patchy, and there's like a weird patchiness in your under eye area. It fades away in a whiff, and no matter what powder you use to set it, I've tried to use the K-Beauty loose powder to set it, it didn't work out at all. So I feel like with this brand, there are equal number of hits and misses from everything that I have tried out so far. It is something that has worked out for a lot of people, and there are equal number of people I have read reviews of, watched reviews of, where the products haven't worked out. I really love the foundation I've tried out from this brand. I really like the lipsticks, not the lip crayon that much, but the lipsticks. I really like the eyeshadow palette I've tried out, because most of the shades worked out really well for me. And the blush in the shade Soft Nude, I absolutely love that blush. It's one of my favorite blushes. But this concealer, the highlighter, sadly didn't work out for me at all. And I feel like even the loose powder, it's not the most softest, finely milled loose powder. It can look a little bit cakey, especially if you have dry skin, dry under eye area. And so it's not like smooth and finely milled like the Huda Beauty loose powder, or even like the Insight Banana loose powder, which is like half the price of that. Less than half the price of that, and that works like a high-end product. And then for another concealer, I have, this is the Cuffs and Lashes Cover Pot. I have this one in the shade number 10 and shade number 15. Shade number 10, it doesn't really work out for my skin tone, and also I find this formula to be extremely drying underneath my eyes. And it also dries up in the pan, and it's a little bit harder to get the product out. You could use like probably like a beauty oil or something like Duraline to revive the product. But even then, underneath my eyes, like when I first got it and I tried it out, it was just a little too drying for my under eye area, and it's not something that works out for me. And if you're like wondering what is all of this yellow on my nails, we harvested turmeric from our terrace garden, and I was like involved in the process of like boiling it, peeling, powdering it and everything, so it like stained my nails. And then anyways, let's move on to the next product, also a concealer palette. This one is the Mass Coverage Cover Ranger Concealer Palette. This I had a lot of expectations for, because Mass is a brand, again, I've had a lot of hits from. But this one sadly didn't work out for me. Like, first of all, this color corrector is a little too orange and stark, and the rest of it doesn't really work out for my skin tone. They have a lot of like bronzer contour shades, but if you wanted to conceal underneath your eyes, there are a lot of like cool tone shades. I don't know which skin tone can pull this off. It's a little too cool toned, ashy looking in my opinion, and I'm not sure who could ever use this. Like, there's not a single shade that I can use for my skin tone in this one. And I also find this to have a weird smell, like fish. Like if you had stored fish for too long, that's how it smells, and it's not very pleasant. It kind of like hits you every time you're using this particular product, but the formulation is really nice. It's nice and creamy. It blends really well. But just that the shade range is not my favorite, and I think this is in the shade number 01. I'm not sure if they have another one. This again was a big miss for me. I had a lot of hopes, expectations for this, but didn't work out that way. And then I have this Sigma Spectrum color correcting duo. This one is in the shade medium to dark. I'm not sure how this would ever work for someone with darker skin tone. Like, it doesn't work for my skin tone. I'm not sure if it works for light to light medium skin tone, but it's just a little too peachy, pink undertones, salmon undertones to it. It doesn't work for me for color correction, and this again is not very affordable, so it would be a like expensive regret if you buy it. So I would say skip on that. There are a lot of really affordable concealer palettes you can try out. And then moving on to another loose powder. This one is the Swiss Beauty Prime and Set Priming and Mattifying Setting Powder. This one actually does mattify your skin. It does set your makeup in place. It could be a little bit drying, especially if you have very dry skin, but my main reason to include this is because of the amount of kickback this powder has. If it gets into your nostrils, if you inhale this powder, you will end up falling terribly sick like I did. I was sick for like 6 days because of the kickback this powder had, and I happened to inhale it, and then I don't know what happened, but I was extremely sick for a period of time because of this particular loose powder. And I was like, oh my god, just imagine if someone had some kind of like breathing difficulty or anything, what a powder like this could do with the amount of kickback it had. So that scares me a little bit, and I haven't ever gone back to reaching for that ever. And then let's talk about some blushes. I have this one. This one is the NY Base Sunset Skyline Blush. This one is in the shade, I'm not sure of the shade. So these are really affordable blushes. The shade even looks really nice, but they have a lot of shimmer particles to it, and also a sort of drying formula. When you apply it on your face, it doesn't go on very evenly. There's a little bit of patchiness. It skips a little bit. And also if you have bumps on your skin, because it's a little bit drying and also has shimmer particles, it just tends to exaggerate it all the more. And the same thing goes with the Stay Quirky blush. These are really affordable. That's the reason I picked it up. But both of these really shimmery and just looks bad on the skin. And then another blush formulation which I'm not a very big fan of, and usually I'm not very picky about my blushes except if they are very shimmery. So I'm okay with matte blushes, but if they're too matte, again, that's a problem. That's the thing with this Mars Cosmetics blush. These are called the Flush of Love blushes. I have this one in the shade 01 and another shade 05. And these I feel like are pigmented, but they're very matte. And if you have dry to normal skin type, I feel like it again like looks visibly cakey, dry on your skin, and it just looks bad on the skin. So again, really affordable product. I just wish it was a little bit more like a silky matte formulation, which it would have worked out a lot better. And then another product, this one is the Benny Tint. Now this, I do get a lot of hate when I mention this particular product, but hear me out. I have pigmented lips, most of the times dry, flaky pigmented lips. And this formulation is extremely runny, okay? So it doesn't really do anything for my lips, and it doesn't even like create a visible stain, if I may say so. So it's very, very, very watery. Like that's the texture of it. And once you let it dry down, you pretty much can't see anything. This would work for someone maybe who has like naturally pink lips, and that could be the reason why a lot of people really like it. But for people like me, where I have pigmentation and it's a little bit on the darker side, it just doesn't show up. And I have paid for this product, and so it's an expensive regret, okay? And it's not like I've just got this for free, so it's okay if it doesn't work out for me. But I did pay for all of this, and this is the kind of stain that it would create on your lips. So I have found like lip stains from affordable brands and a lot of other brands that actually show up and work out for my kind of lips. But this one, unfortunately, is not like that. So yeah, it's okay if you have it and you really like it. It just didn't work for me. Okay. Then we have highlighters. This one is the My Glam Spotlight Illuminating Liquid. This is just like different, okay? It's not like your typical highlighter. Can you see how runny that is? And also Like when you apply it on your face, the pigment just splits and all of that shimmer is like run down your face, and I think you're left with nothing. So I don't really understand the point of this product. It is not like, even as a body highlighter, it's not quite shimmery enough. So yeah. And then we also have the Ilana Golden Hour Illuminating and Hydrating Strobing Cream. This, I don't really like the formulation of this. It's extremely thick and cakey, and also the shade is very off. So this is nowhere nearing a dupe for the MAC Strobe Cream. And if in case you're thinking it's like that and you're going to purchase it, I think a lot of you would be really upset. And it is not the most blendable formula to use it all over your face. It leaves a little bit of like a white cast. So yeah, and it also makes your skin extremely dry. Like once you blend it out, I don't know if you can see it. Like once you blend it out, you can see it just kind of clings onto your skin, makes it look very dry, cakey, and a lot of texture. So do not use this all over your face as well. And if you can, just avoid picking this product up. And same thing goes with the Milani Illuminating Primer. I didn't find it to be very illuminating. It has a little bit of like a different tone shift once you apply it on your skin, and it also has like larger shimmer particles, which I was not a very big fan of. And then speaking of two highlighters, this is not a bad product. It just didn't work out for my skin tone. This one is the Balm Mary Luminizer. It's a cult favorite product for a reason. It's actually a very nice subtle highlighter. I have the shade called Bonnie Luminizer that works out really well for my skin. But this one is just a little too like white looking, especially when I apply it on the high points of my cheek. It just looks a little too stark and white on my skin. It doesn't really blend with my skin tone. And then the same thing goes with the Wet n Wild Blossom Glow highlighter. This one has a very different shade shift. It's like, I'm not sure for which skin tone this was introduced and why it was launched in India when they have a lot of other good products in Wet n Wild that has not been launched in India. So it has this kind of like a lilac shift to it, and it looks really bad when you apply it on your cheek. And I'm not sure which skin tone can pull this off. Maybe if you have a lot of cool tones in your skin, and for lighter skin tone, maybe it would work out. I'm not very sure, but this is certainly not for my skin tone. And then speaking of some eyeshadow palettes, I have to talk about this one. This one is a Too Faced Gingerbread eyeshadow palette. This is not available anymore. But the reason I'm talking about this is because I know a lot of people really like Too Faced eyeshadow palettes, but I feel like they are just like not very impressive for me. Like the shimmer shades just don't pack that punch I'm looking for. They are on the drier side, and these are really pricey eyeshadow palettes, so I just want the shimmer shades to show up a lot more vibrant and with that oomph on my eyes, and these eyeshadow palettes don't cut it for me. So I have Huda Beauty eyeshadow palettes, which I absolutely love. There are really good affordable eyeshadow palettes that work a lot better. Sadly, these are not for me. And then speaking of two more eyeshadow palettes, these are from Mars Cosmetics. This one is the Eyes Can Kill eyeshadow palette. So it's a very nice colorful eyeshadow palette. The matte shades blend pretty well. The shimmer shades are okay, like they're not the most sheeny looking shimmer shades. But for me, the problem is with the glitter shade. So if you're picking it up for the glitter shade, I'm not sure if you would like it. Like there are people who can get it to work. They are a little bit chunky and there's a lot of fallout, and it's almost like borderline pokey on the eye, and there's a lot of residue. Like even like once you take it off and you're like done washing your face and everything, over the span of time, like at least for a week, you can see a lot of glitter fall out on your face. Same thing goes with this smaller Mars eyeshadow palette as well. Like there are a lot of glitter shades, but they are a little too chunky for my liking and a lot of intense fallout, and I cannot seem to get a more cohesive look with it, and it looks a little bit like unblended and not put together. There are a lot of people who have enjoyed that palette, who really like that palette, so don't take my word for it. Like judge and assess your skill. Like if you're able to blend any eyeshadow, if you're like a skilled person like that, then don't take my word. You can of course go ahead and try that out. Anyways, now coming to the end of this video with some lip products. I have this one. This one is the Simply Naam liquid lipstick. This one is in the shade Hannah. These liquid lipsticks again were marketed to be like pigmented but very comfortable long wearing on your lips. I don't find that to be the case. I don't find them to be the most super pigmented liquid lipsticks. They are very thin and not intensely pigmented, where the natural pigmentation of my lips still do peek through, and they're not very comfortable as well. Like they are not pigmented enough, but they are not also very comfortable. They are a little bit drying on the lips, and you can feel the urge to like lick your lips quite often and be like, okay, why is this liquid lipstick so drying on my lips? So that is the kind of formulation this one is. It's not the most comfortable liquid lipstick formula. And then I also got this Manish Malhotra My Glam lipstick. This one is in the shade Cocoa Tease. It's a beautiful shade, but the formula of this is very runny and very uneven. It takes forever to dry down on your lips completely, and it gets a little bit patchy when you apply a certain place. So you're trying to fill that up where it's probably like building up too much product. The other place is getting a little bit patchy. You can't purse your lips together. So it's a very uneven formulation in general, but the shade is beautiful. And then the last one, this one is an expensive liquid lipstick, and the shade and is a little bit of a disappointment for me. This one is the Pat McGrath liquid lipstick. This one is in the shade Flesh 3. I was actually waiting for this shade to come back in stock for the longest time. When it did, I picked it up on a discount, and I am super disappointed. This is how the shade looks like. You could be like, okay, what's the big deal? It looks like a beautiful shade. It just doesn't suit well on my skin tone, and the formula is very thick. It's a little bit sticky as well, like your Maybelline Superstay, the initial formulation, how it was, the liquid lipstick. It feels similar to that, very like heavy on the lips and sticky throughout the day. And this shade, once it dries down, it's just too bright. It's like a bright pink toned red shade. Not anything I imagined. Like from the swatches I saw, it looked like a more deeper mauve kind of a shade, and when applied on the lips, it's nothing like that. So that was why I was really disappointed with it. So yeah, that's pretty much everything I wanted to talk to you about. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful in case you wanted to purchase these products. And usually sometimes if our product liking is similar, you could probably refrain from buying this and avoid this. And if you're like, okay, anything you've recommended has turned out to be a complete 360, so I'm going to go ahead and try these products out, you can of course do that by all means. So yeah, do comment down below. Let me know your biggest product regret of whatever you've purchased, and also let me know what other videos you'd like to watch in the future. So let me know in the comment section, and while you're at it, give this video a big thumbs up, and also subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you're notified every time I upload a new video. And I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye.